Welcome to all panelists. The topic on which we are going to do the discussion and deliberate on is future innovations of learning in the new post-pandemic environment. The subject line itself says post-pandemic. That is really cheerful because we are almost at the end of era of pandemic. 14% of today's GDP during their entire career because of this pandemic. Almost 97% of India's household had seen the drop in their regular annual income. And we all know that the highest spend of any household is for education. And so education was impacted really badly. We have seen our teachers making efforts to provide the online education. Digital education was the new in thing in this pandemic era. We have always visualized that there was a learning loss. Of course, there was a learning loss because schools were closed for more than a year. And more than 60% of the Indian children had no access or very limited access to the online education. Now we have entered into an era which is not only physical or not only digital, but we have entered into an era which is a combination of physical plus digital education. And we need to build back together again the future of children of the world. First, I would like to request Dr. Rao, who has pioneered, in fact, I would say most of the examples will definitely come from Gujarat because I belong to Gujarat and I've seen Gujarat's education system transforming in his leadership over last 4.5 years. He has established country's first data-driven digital transformation of school education, and to monitor that huge bunch of data, a Vidya Samiksha Kendra, which is a command and control center for schools, first of its kind of initiative in the country. And so many initiatives were taken even during pandemic. Vidya Samiksha Kendra is the gift to the country by Gujarat, and that was built in a record time of 8 to 9 months in Gujarat during pandemic. And now Gujarat is reaping the fruits of that Vidya Samiksha Kendra post-pandemic era. So I would like to request Dr. Rao first to share his experience of digital learning, how Vidya Samiksha Kendra has helped, how he has visualized the country's first holistic transformation of school education through Mission Schools of Excellence. May I request Dr. Rao to share his views, please?
Pandemic and its existential crisis. The biggest losers in this was the economy, globally, global economy, and global education. Till date, we have been loosely using the words schooling, teaching, and learning. We presumed that children being in school and teachers being paid salaries to teach, students would be learning. But thanks to UNESCO and the annual poverty, education, learning poverty reports that UNESCO comes forth every year with, World Bank also comes out with periodic reports. We know that globally, learning poverty is a great, severe, urgent, unfelt crisis. Pandemic for the first time helped us revisit the concepts of schooling, teaching, and learning. We have been grappling with the issue of students going to school and not learning. To put it in other words, we were grappling with the issue of schooling without learning and teaching without learning. For the first time, we had to grapple with the issue of learning without schooling. In Gujarat, a few initiatives were taken since 2018-19, which ironically turned out to be a blessing in disguise during the pandemic. In 2019, we decided that all textbooks that will be printed will have QR coding for every learning outcome. So across the state, all textbooks that were printed in 2019 and then released in 2020, so 1920, had QR coding for every learning content for every chapter. In 2020, once schools did not reopen, but the academic year started from June and we started home learning. Our teachers distributed textbooks to every student in the month of June, the first 2 weeks of June, taking textbooks to every student's residence, wherever it was, even in far-fetched rural areas. It is something which data has corroborated and proved. Till first week of June, in direct place of Diksha portal, which Government of India has come forward with, till June 2020, Gujarat was in 10th position in Diksha direct place. As soon as the textbooks were distributed in June, by the end of June, our direct place in Diksha portal started increasing. And by first week of July, Gujarat moved from 10th position to first position. And Gujarat has been in first position consistently since 2020, even though Gujarat is not the largest state and Gujarat is not having the largest number of students in India. Still today, consistently since last more than 2 years, Gujarat is number 1 in Diksha place. Apart from that, 2019, we started another initiative along with Microsoft. We started universal use of Microsoft Teams by every teacher for virtual classrooms. We started student ID to be generated, teacher's ID to be generated, virtual classrooms created. Hardly did we foresee that 2020, this will be the most effective mode of classroom learning. In 2020, during school closed down, Gujarat extensively used Microsoft Teams for virtual classrooms. Today, globally, in education sector, Gujarat school education is the largest consumer of Microsoft Teams. Apart from that, YouTube channels, a few other initiatives. But a very notable initiative was in 2020, Gujarat became the first state to have a state-owned EdTech company. We started a EdTech company by the name Gujarat Education Technologies Limited. Now, why should any state government have, or a student in any state government, for that matter even in private school, depend on the monopoly of EdTech sector run by private companies? At the end of the day, high quality learning content can be created. It's a one-time cost with a marginal incremental maintenance and updation cost every year. What is available in the market for 25,000, 30,000 per student, we are able to give at 1,000 rupees per student to private schools and absolutely free of cost to government school students, and still we are going to earn huge profits. And that entire profit will be plowed back to strengthen the IT education in government schools. Thanks to pandemic, what IT revolution did not do in last 2 decades, pandemic helped in just 2 years. Today, online education is no longer a taboo. In June 2020, child psychologists were debating what will happen to child psychology, what will happen to sitting posture, what will happen to when 15 children were crammed into an auto rickshaw, nobody bothered about what the posture of child will, how the posture will be affected. But when the child had to sit for 2 hours to attend to online education, critics were having skepticism regarding it. Now it is no longer there. Blended learning is the new normal thanks to pandemic. You can't make every teacher excellent, but the most excellent teacher can be today made available to every single student thanks to extensive use of technology. Yes, we have a crisis at hand to the extent, a challenge at hand to the extent that technology, devices, etc. is not available to every child. But yes, we have made the start. In the next few months, we will ensure that connectivity and devices will be made available across all schools of Gujarat. Pandemic has been an unprecedented adversity. Pandemic has also been an unprecedented opportunity. Gujarat has used this adversity into an opportunity, and I believe many other states have also done the same. If I get an opportunity, I'll come back.
I'd like to share one more thing. The lockdown was started on 25th of March, and Gujarat was the state which had foreseen the possibility of lockdown and started the airing the online classes through Doordarshan and 13 local news channels from 16th of March, 10 days before the lockdown. And that had ensured the continuum of learning. And in fact, everywhere there are learning losses, but some pockets of Gujarat had shown the learning improvements during the pandemic. And that was because of pre-planning during pandemic. And now those learning gains are actually reflecting in the results of National Achievement Survey 2021, which is very recent survey, which has shown that this entire planning was actually fruitful. So thank you, Dr. Rao. May I request Ashwani sir to share his views on the digital education and post-pandemic era, how can we continue the learning?
In 2014, I was Joint Secretary Information Technology for Government of Assam. And I was looking after 2 or 3 more departments where I carried on digitization and use of IT in providing other services. I still remember we had to face so much of resistance and reluctance from people from learning how to work on computers. And it was so challenging that to learn simple functions on computer, it took months, if not days. After pandemic, it was the necessary thing to be done. Everybody started using computers. And people were sitting at home, nothing, there were nothing they could do. They were accessing everything what they were getting on television and their computers. The use of internet usage during pandemic, it increased like anything. If we see school education, we have achieved gross enrollment ratio, which is almost ranging 98-99%. If we see higher school education, it is around 27%. So getting children to the school is no longer our primary aim. Our primary aim is to provide quality education. As our National Education Policy 2020 sees, blended learning is the new norm. We were earlier also having a lot of innovative technologies being used. Hybrid learning was earlier also used, where most of the coaching institutes, most of the private institutes, tech companies, they were using these technologies. After pandemic, its usage increased as it was need of the hour. Today, Government of India, it has come up with a lot of IT programs in every sector. If you open the annual report of METI, you would see that I worked in 2014, so I was very well thorough with all the IT projects. But recently, when I saw the project report, I was, I was baffled to see so many projects going on in each and every department. The usage of IT, it has increased manifold. Today we have Diksha in school education literacy, PM e-Vidya. So one of the main components, we have Diksha, where it has to be the one digital platform for the entire country where all the stakeholders, they can come, they can share knowledge, all the lectures, their material, it can be shared. Further, SWAM is there. Government of India is taking a lot of steps towards digitization, but one thing which has been a problem is the quality. And that's what, private sector comes into picture. Because until unless we have that competition, whenever there is a monopoly, this competition lacks. Whenever there is a competition, the quality improves. Microsoft has provided innovative solutions where we have different softwares which can be used. But the usage of these products, it has to be at affordable price. Even now, the cost of accessing Microsoft products and other products of edtech companies is little expensive. And as sir rightly said, why should private sector be only in edtech companies? Government should also come into edtech companies, and that is very much right. In fact, I recently went to Shriram College of Commerce. I interacted with a lot of students, and everyone, they had one question that today there is a lot of material, lot of study-related programs on YouTube, on other platforms. So how to select the best solution? To select that, if government comes into picture and we tell them, we show them the way that this is the correct way, then I think that would be better. I still remember when Arvind Subramaniam sir was there, economic survey was, it used to be a very, very important part while we prepared for civil services. He took initiative, and the chief economic advisor of the country, he himself came and recorded economic survey. So that was a very welcome step. Like that, we can have different role models in different sectors where they come, they record these lectures, these materials, and they're being uploaded on Diksha, on all the platforms. YouTube is there. There is no cost. People can access it free of cost. When these material are there, I think that would be a new mark where we can start talking about new things. We have Web 3.0 coming now. 10 years back, we didn't know the kind of social media we are having right now. People are so much active. They are interacting with each other on real time. So after Web 3.0, we will have 5G. So having the connectivity, the infrastructure is not going to be a problem. The problem is going to be a quality again. And we have to adopt innovative ways of improving the pedagogy. We have to be more contextual. It has to be more contextual based. It has to be more related to projects, more related to themes. And the child should come forward and he should or she should show the willingness to learn. That should be our goal. Rather, forcing children to learn, which is not at all been successful. As we have seen, there was UNESCO's report, 35% of adult population of the world, it lives in India. So that shows our numbers in foundational literacy, understanding in reading, they're really very poor. So we are just measuring the statistics without seeing like whether they are effective or not, whether the absorption of knowledge is taking place or not. So we have to focus on the quality and we have to ensure that whatever is being taught, whatever is being imparted, it is getting absorbed, so that they will be a part of our holistic education. Thank you.
You have rightly pointed out that willingness to learn is what we need to create amongst children, and that hunger for learning will take us further. Also, you have mentioned that the India has the largest younger population. Uh, we can say that whatever is the workforce there will be in 2050 will be in schools today. So we need to ensure, if we want to really see India shining and growing, today's schools must be equipped and students must be willing to learn. May I request uh, Huma ma'am to share her views and some interesting facts.
First of all, at the outset, I'd like to congratulate Economic Times, and it's really remarkable to be hosting such a nice, big event, and on very important issues, considering both higher and school education systems. I also take this opportunity to compliment and congratulate the state government of Gujarat for taking a lead and representing this as an example and showcasing this as an example that if you're determined, you can make a change. And this is something very good. And it happens when it's kind of combined from both the sides, you know, from the state government's, you know, determination, and of course the community which joins hand together to make this happen. But I would say that yes, we took like, you know, this has been like an opportunity. COVID has created, and the pandemic created, you know, certain challenges, which, you know, we all responded. And I think digitization is something, or the digital platforms was something which were very quick. And I think we really responded pretty fast on it, and that's a global phenomenon. All the countries, I think the kind of pace which education took, you know, I think which was not happening in the past, but the way we have responded, it does show that, you know, countries were determined to face this challenge. But then the challenge is not over. The challenge is not over because there is learning loss. The challenge is not over because we have to now rework on the curriculum. The challenge is not over because we have to work on different kind of pedagogies in order to address these issues. The challenge is not over because there is still those who are left behind or whose issues were not addressed. And in this context, I would say the children with disabilities, they faced a lot of problem, and their issues even technology could not meet with, because as Sir mentioned that, you know, the textbooks were sent and were reached at the doorstep, yet their needs were very different, you know. We have come across, when we did a survey, that the children with disabilities felt that the photocopying of the text was not done the way it should have been. And, you know, the technology was not prepared to support their issues, because we have in India, at least, you know, as per the RPWD Act 2016, 21 disabilities which are to be catered to. So that is where we have a miss. And I think we need to relook at it. We're also stepping into AI in a big way. And therefore, we have to see how we do this blending, you know, wherein we combine, because the future is more towards AI. So have we prepared, when we are talking about education in the Hindu Kush or the Karakoram range, you know, where the mountain regions are. And these are children with, you know, maybe one teacher schools, or, you know, the whole terrain is not very conducive for digitization, and therefore how do we take up those matters? And that is a concern, and this concern was also raised at the Transformation of Education Summit. UNESCO has also come up with guidelines and has also come up with 6 major tracks. We are also talking about rethinking education. And of course, I mean, there are very many researches and documents which have come out and which do say a lot about it. I think the chalk and blackboard and the whole format of teaching which we have been doing and processing till now has to change, as I said. So the teaching and the pedagogy also has to look at very many aspects. Along with that, I think one area which stood out was the social emotional learning, SEL. And we know that students are still, you know, in stress, or they have these issues of SEL which cannot be resolved through technology. And I think we need to have that human touch in order to address these particular issues. We also know that, you know, there are issues and concerns about cybersecurity. So, and also, you know, students, when they are handling, you know, technology, then how are they supposed to deal with these issues, which I think ma'am will be able to clarify for us as we were talking. And these are also very important issues to be, you know, looked at. Quality concerns were raised, and these are definitely going to be a matter of concern. And the way the national education policy, which came out, you know, during the pandemic in 2020, is a very, very holistic document, and it covers from early childhood to higher education. And therefore, we need to look at it, that how much of it is implemented or can be implemented now, and what are the key aspects which you know, countries must you know, kind of address in our present time. And when we are talking about gigabytes, when we are talking about you know, space technologies, when we are talking about semiconductors, when we are talking about new kind of skills, so how do we do the school to work transitions, and what kind of formats should be there in the curriculum and the courses. I think all of that has to be addressed, and I think there is a lot more of thinking which has to go in. In fact, UNESCO is also involved in this particular meeting, but also we are having, right now we are having a hackathon, India-Africa hackathon happening, and wherein almost 349 students from different African countries have come in for a coding competition. So I think, you know, world is looking at India, and there is a lot what we can offer to India, wherein, as Sir said, that it's not just the private sector which would be the main player. It is also the government which is coming forward, and platforms like Diksha and Nishta, and the way we have used satellites and televisions and all mechanisms which were in hand, you know, to cater to the needs of our children, because at the end of the day, no one should be left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You have touched upon two major key points. One is the children with special needs. We need to do a lot more for them. One very simple example is, again, as I said, I'll be quoting most of the examples from Gujarat. One very simple thing, any child with special need, requires disability certificate to have government benefits. And every time a child has to travel from his or her own village with parents to get that certificate from the state capital, Gandhinagar, civil hospital. In 2018, one such parent came to sir and said that we had to come over here for having a disability certificate and today doctor is not available. That traveled overnight with a child with a special need, and that has given a birth to the new innovative idea, why can't we have disability camps at the taluka place? And with that simple idea being implemented across the state, within 3 months, state had distributed more than 60,000 disability certificates and given the benefits to all CWSN children in the state. So if we take one simple step ahead, we can make a difference in many lives. And how the difference can be made through computing, how technology can help us. May I request Arti ma'am to share her views on computing and how technology can help us in education.
First of all, on behalf of C-DAC, I'm very thankful to Economic Times to give us this opportunity to share our views over here in this summit. Belonging to a R&D institutions, I think for the product, the technology developed by scientists, so we'll be very happy to see that how it is used for the betterment of human beings. And COVID is the witness for this. Even in such a worst condition, nothing could stop us, including education, health, food, crop, everything we have done, and set the example for others. So it is really a very, very proud moment to all the scientists of India. Okay. For your thing, one or two disadvantage, technology is for betterment, but definitely there are one or two disadvantage always associated with each and every technology. And that was specifically, if we talk about education, so it was that face-to-face interaction was missing totally. Because when we are going online, there is no eye contact. Teacher, when teaching in a class, can read the face of a student. That was missing. And that we cannot address, because in a class you can ask if a student is not able to understand. So definitely that type of technology is needed. Even if we are going online, the student should be provided such type of facility. If teacher is not there, he or she should be able to understand that things, can get the answer. That type of tools definitely we need. In C-DAC, we have developed few tools for education. The examination system, very good examination systems we have developed. For learning purpose, we have developed a platform that we call Make Shikshak. Make Shikshak is basically a e-learning platform, but it can be customized for the need of a particular college, for a particular school, that can be customized. A lot of variety of things you can put on this portal in terms of videos, in terms of lectures, in live lectures you can give, in terms of quizzes, in terms of examinations. Everything can be customized based on the need of the schools. This was the first. Then second product, we have developed OLab. OLab is basically for the 10th and 12th class students. In this, for science students, we have developed it so they can do the simulation in their home. Even if they are not able to go in the laboratory where they can perform actual experiment, but they can learn in their home. So that is the advantage over there. And it is freely available. college and schools may contact C-DAC for providing all these facilities. In addition to that, nowadays we are working on our latest technologies in terms of cybersecurity also, because the problem we noted down during this COVID, when ongoing online classes are going on, there are a lot of chats teachers are having, which are vulgar in nature and hampering the things. And there are also the cases the students are able to hang the systems and disrupt the total learning at that time. So we have to take care of this so that when a course is going on in this mode, a student, the control should be such that this type of things should not happen. So we need that type of tools also. So we are working on AI also, AI-based solutions, so that you can customize the content in such a manner, and you can distribute to the student depending upon their need, and they have to learn that, because each student cannot learn at the same pace. So there are the tools we are developing for that. For cybersecurity, I would like to inform over here that at Noida, we have developed a platform. E-learning contents we have. A student can go through them and they can learn. Even teachers can go through them. But in addition to that, sometimes this happens that the student as well as master trainers are having only theoretical knowledges of the cybersecurity. To have the practical experience, we have developed a platform in such a manner there where you can feel the live attacks, how it is happening, because the moment you teach this, we can understand, okay, this thing happened, we should take this care, but actually what is happening, attack, how it is happening. So basic attacks we give through live experience to the students as well as to the teachers. They experience that attack, how it is happening, they identify it, and then they learn the defense mechanism, what step they should take, and what they should do so that it should not happen. Specifically related to the systems, the web portals they are using, the mobile they are having, all these we have taken in that. So these are the few tools we are developing. And in addition to that, other technologies, AR, VR, we are also working so that the content should be such that there should be very clearly a student can understand the concepts. So it is not only the type of contents we are having, recordings and some animation and all these, but we are having the 3D contents in which you have conceptually, you can understand that what is happening. Whether it is science, it is humanities, or it is English or some other things. Thank you.
We have just 5 minutes left. So may I request all the panelists just 30 seconds or 1 minute concluding remarks, please. Starting with Dr. Rao, please.
So, since you brought this topic of Vidya Samiksha Kendra, the Command and Control Center for Schools, we discussed how technology can be a learning aid as an education technology aid. But technology can also be a big game changer if it is used for governance in education. In school education, whenever there is a conference like this, we generally make it a point to say we need to increase spending in school education. In my 5th year in school education as secretary, I would say we don't need more resources. In school education, we don't necessarily face a resource deficit. What we seriously face is a governance deficit. And unless you improve governance, efficiency will not improve. And without efficiency, more spending would mean more money down the drain. We started extensively using technology for governance. In 2018, we started online attendance system across all government primary schools, 32,500 schools. When we came out with this idea, we were told it's not possible. In 45 days, the technology part of it, we made it possible. The connectivity part of it, we made it possible. What was more difficult was to make the stakeholders agree to it. Teachers to agree to online attendance every day. There were protests, severe protests. With good political support and administrative skills to negotiate, we got it implemented. In December 2018, almost all schools of Gujarat, we started online attendance. In 1 year, between December 2018 and December 2019, regularity of attendance in government schools. Students with more than 80% attendance during a given month increased by 26%, which means 13.5 lakh students became more regular in schools. With the success of this, we extended it to secondary and higher secondary schools. We extended it to all private schools. We have many private school owners also here. When we came with this idea, why go private schools? Why private schools? 4.5 lakh students are sponsored by state government in private schools under Right to Education 12(1)(c). Whether the children are coming to school or not, we need to monitor. We give approvals with a certain specific approved student-teacher ratio, student-classroom ratio. Is it maintained or not? We also say 100% enrollment. 100% enrollment against what? So unless you have the child tracking of every child in private school, you don't know what is the residual number that should be enrolled in government schools. So unless you have real-time database across all schools, you won't know whether enrollment is actually happening. We went ahead and started assessments of children across 3rd standard to 12th standard, centralized assessment for learning outcomes, 2 summative exams and multiple formative exams across all schools. Data entry of every child for every subject for every learning outcome. Since 2019, we are having thousands of crores of data sets. Because of this available data set, we wanted to do real-time analysis. We started Command and Control Center. Honorable Prime Minister renamed it as Vidya Samiksha Kendra. We have extensively used artificial intelligence, big data analysis to do analysis of this data. And today we have distributed more than 15 crore student report cards. We are doing real-time tracking of all our field staff through GPS tracking of every field staff. We provided them tablets and using their own smartphones. We do GPS tracking. All our cluster resource coordinators, block resource coordinators, education inspectors send their report online, and their movement and the report is geo-fenced so that they have to be in the school before they have to be in their assigned space before they upload the report. So extensive use of technology can be game changer in improving governance in education, and improving governance is the way to move forward in India. Thank you.
Just want to add one sentence. When Dr. Rao said that I want to extend the exams, attendance, and other initiatives to private schools. And some of us had asked why private schools. And his reply was really encouraging. He said, what is my designation? Secretary Education Gujarat. It is not saying Secretary Government School Education Gujarat. So I am Secretary Education, and all 1.15 crore children are my children studying in schools of Gujarat, and I am responsible for that. Ashwani sir, your remarks please.
I think we need to change our perspective also. We define education, how do you define a child is educated or a person is educated? We think a child is going to school and is taking classes and getting educated. Education starts when you wake up until you sleep. Where every medium you get information, you process that, you convert that information into knowledge which you can apply in your practical life. So that is education. More than 80% of the education, the kind of learning that takes place, it takes place from all the medium apart from schools. 80%, 20% from schools, 80% from rest of them. If a person says, I will go to a good school or bad school, the syllabus is same, books are same. It is only the atmosphere, the peers, the kind of people they are going there, because that person is going to learn, the child is going to learn from the peers. 10 years before, if you see, nobody was there so active on social media. Nobody is teaching children how to use Facebook, how to use Instagram. If you see now fifth standard, sixth standard, seventh standard children, they are very active and they know how to do everything. They are creating content. Recently I met a guy, he is earning around 25 lakhs being a content creator on YouTube, 25 lakhs per month. The kind of definitions we have, we need to change that definition. We have to make our system, we have to make, we have to tell the children why, a children should feel that why he needs to learn. We are imposing, you need to learn, you need to go to school, you need to do that. But what's the purpose? We have failed in that. So we have to go from that perspective so that the child himself comes and says, I want to learn, I want to do this thing. We are just imposing, you have to clear, we are giving the wrong incentives to the children. We have to give the right incentives. We have to give the right environment. We have to create the ecosystem so that the child comes forward to learn. When a child is going out of school, he learns most of the things from the other place other than the school. Even if he goes to school, he is taking the school bus, he is meeting a lot of people, he is talking informally after the classes. That is a learning which becomes so heavy on that child that he is not focusing on the content and all that. We have to make our content so that he learns. As Web 3.0, a lot of new technologies are going to come. Now we are discussing whether cryptocurrency is good or bad, whether blockchain is going to stay or not. Web 3.0, it is going to be there. So it will not be a matter of choice. It will be a matter of how quickly we adopt these technologies in our life. So adoption of technologies are changing very fast. We need to be quick learners. Everybody need to be a quick learner. If you more than around 100 crores of handsets have been sold in India, a lot of connections are there. Everybody is using mobile phone regularly. As ma'am said, cyber security, we are not at all focusing on cyber security. It is going to be a very, very important factor in the times to come. That needs to be addressed. We have an update every second day, third day. What is this update? This is nothing but we have to learn. If 5% of the total handsets which are being used in India are iPhones, iOS you use. After one major update, your entire phone, it looks like it's a new phone. You have to learn. So learning has to be a continuous feature of our life. It does not have to start in school and end in school. It has to start right from the moment you wake up and till you go to the bed. It is entire learning only. We have to see it that way, only then we can be successful in getting everybody educated. Thank you.
Thank you. It's always encouraging to have stories from the states because, we work at the policy level. So when we see, action happening at the state, it's definitely very encouraging. But I have 2-3 points, which is not that I differ from, but I would like to reiterate, and that is that education for UNESCO is a public good. And I think it's important in whatever context we are, I think we have to continue to work to make and keep education as a public good. Because if the recent report which has come out, which is called the Global Education Monitoring Report, and wherein we are talking about non-state actors, I think it very clearly says that actually it's moving out of the hands of the government, and there are more private players in education now. And we know the consequences, that when it is moving out of the government setups, not in the context of Gujarat, I'm just talking in general, and that is that what happens is that the divide happens. We know of digital divide. I mentioned about at least one section of the society, which is children with disabilities and persons with disabilities. But it is a fact that by and by it's moving out. When we look at the national assessment survey is happening, we also know where our children stand, you know. The NAS is something which is kind of, you know, what the temperature is, or what the blood pressure is, or what, you know, our human conditions are, or whatever you may call it. But that is something which is a fact. When we look at the data, then that also speaks by itself, because if the, you know, the numbers would always tell about the real situation. I would also say that financing is very, very important. So is governance, of course, because that would be more cost effective if you have good governance. But then there is some commitment which has been given globally. We know that we are, UNESCO leads the SDG 4 coordination globally. And we are heading towards 2013. And there will be lot which will come out, you know, a lot of facts when we look at all the 10 targets, or you could say 7 targets and 3 means of implementation, where the countries stand and what are the rankings. So I think it is important that it's not, you know, how much of money you are putting in. That I would always say that with money, governance is very important, that how effectively we use that money, but we do need money. And I think for that, it is important, because if we are looking at post-pandemic, then it is that we need a different kind of infrastructure. If we look at the WASH, you know, facilities at the school level, you know, we know that, you know, there is some fair amount of investments to be done. When we look at creating a digital environment in a school setup, then we know that it comes with a cost, and therefore we have to put aside that cost of the GDP. Most of the countries said that we would reach 6% of our GDP, but then I think in our context, I think we are still at 4.3, if I'm not wrong, in Indian context. So I think we have to make concerted effort, but I can definitely say and vouch for it in the Indian context that when it comes to commitment and political commitment and the commitment of the government and the state governments, I think India is doing remarkably well. And that commitment is there, you know, and the seriousness with which, you know, the government is working is that, you know, this whole thing of keeping education as a public good is there. And it is not just in thoughts or ideas, but it's in action. And I think that is to continue because we are talking about a huge volume. And if we have to really address and make, you know, the young population, which is considered to be a dividend in the Indian context, then we have to really work towards making quality education, you know, and provide that as a public good. Thank you.
I would like to conclude with this, that we have seen the advantages of both physical education as well as online education. So we should combine both, the advantages of both, and we should go for the hybrid model. So it will be good for a student as well as for teachers' growth also. But I would like to emphasize that there should be more on skill development. That means experience, not the theoretical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge is good to understand the concept, but they should experience it, how the things are happening, so that we can inculcate the innovation in the students. So it is very, very necessary that they should not focus only on the marks by studying some material. They should focus on innovation. Marks becomes the secondary thing. Thank you.
I would just like to say one sentence. Together, let us rebuild back and better. With this, we conclude this panel discussion. I'd like to thank all panelists for being on panel and sharing their views. Thank you so much.
So I work in the area of learning disabilities, and I represent a company called Scanning Pens Limited. We are UK-based, and we support children with learning disabilities in special education. So what it does is, we help make classrooms inclusive. So we provide the support which is required to learn in an inclusive setting. I think Huma ma'am and Dr. Behra, both of you stressed on this. So we are looking forward to work with the government and government agencies. We are already working with a lot of state governments. So do you think, this kind of technology can find a usage in the recent education system to support children?
Yes, I think there are very many experiments happening, and learning disabilities is one of the major challenges. If you're interested in this area, I think you should go on and check one of our category 1 institute is working a lot in this area. It's called Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Peace and Development, but it's working on spectrum and working on learning disabilities, and there are different tools and technologies which are now available. And I think in terms of challenges in the classroom, I think this is one of the challenges, I think, learning disabilities, and this has to be addressed. And therefore, I compliment if your institution is working. You are slightly far away, so I think we need to get a little closer after this event.
Absolutely, ma'am.
I'm sure we'll find the common road.
Yes, we could sense a lot of synergy on the lines that you are thinking and what Scanning Pens has on offer.
Sure.
So thank you so much for your inputs.
Thank
you.
Sir, basically my question goes to Rao sir. Sir, it was quite good understanding from you people, but one thing I differ that the cost, means I belong from completely private segment, and I was an advertiser in the beginning for most of the coaching centers across India. But once the pandemic started, we shifted to online education, and we did good. Now, as far as the cost part is concerned, government does not change its product with time. While a private segment has all the variations, like the same product means which looks like same, but which is not exactly the same. Like ma'am had told, the interaction level differs, the cost changes. The same product comes, which looks like, can be given at 1,000 rupees, but that's only the video lecture or the lecture part. But if you make it interactive, the cost increases. Now, it even increases with type of educators involved. So I think means government segment and private segment should work together. What government segment is doing, that private segment is actually benefiting too much out of it. This notion goes into the market and amongst the people.
We have only provided one more opportunity, an alternative. We have not prohibited private sector to work in NetTech in Gujarat. Number two, our cost is not high as far as creation of content is concerned. Our cost, whether it is government or private sector, is not exorbitantly high insofar as creation of content is concerned. Let me answer, I'm answering. Our cost is high in some cases because we sponsor the Indian cricket team using that money. Let me answer. When government is in this sector, I don't have an advertisement cost to it. My content creation cost compared to my overall budget is very, very limited. I am using that. I have a captive consumer. My government school students get it free of cost. Private school students, whoever wants to join, I have the benefit of volume with me. I have 4 million students studying in private schools. Even if by choice 1 million, 1.5 million chooses to, I am not forcing them, chooses to take my product, I'll be the biggest edtech company in the world perhaps. Because you all run on a minuscule subscription, and the rest of you, you know how the sector today, like a bubble, is crashing. Now, EdTech sector in India is not a regulated sector. It is not a regulated sector. We need to bring in regulation because otherwise it is exorbitant, exploitative, and extortionist.
With that, thank you so much everyone for such a delightful and insightful session.